Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be going over sessions, and not your typical sessions but my sessions and why they are what they are, and a few misconceptions, and obviously then we'll go over some use cases, but also I'll be covering more importantly data backed as to why I'm using these different session times and why maybe you should go out and do some research. And again, I'll be talking you through how it's actually beneficial in my own trading. So to begin with, we're on TradingView. I'll show you my session times to begin with, and also my indicator that I'm using, not my indicator but Leviathan. He's made this indicator market sessions. You can actually go through and adjust the names of each, the names, the session times you want, etc. All these different session settings. But for me, these are the ones I'm using. Again, you can rename this however you want. It doesn't really matter. Asia, London, New York, and then close. But more importantly, the times, and all of these times are based in UTC plus 0. So from UTC plus 0, these are the hours I'm using. And yeah, hopefully these settings make the most sense for you. Now, going forward from there, you can see again on the chart how they're really placed out with the borders, etc. You can see where each session time is coming in. So to again, just to recap on that, 0 to 6 Asia, 6 to 12 London, 12 to 8 in New York, quite a longer one, and then close is 8 till again the open. So a few misconceptions that you probably will see. I hear a lot of people always talking about sessions, going, this is the session, why using traditional sessions, but they've never really gathered any sort of data on their sessions. They just go over it because the traditional method. And to be fair to them, that's what I did in the very beginning too, until in the very, I started to question, why am I using these different, these typical session times? Are they valid? Are they useful? Why am I using them rather than just going with the general consensus? So what I did was I went through, and I will show you here. You can see here. So this is a table I did middle end of towards last year. And it really goes over, if I just show you I can show you this. So what this table is showing you, and I collected all this data myself, and it's really important to do this, in my opinion, in relation to the data. Apologies. But you basically have days a week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You then have average volume per hour. So what's the average volume on a Monday at this time, on a Monday at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and so on. And then you have it for each individual day. What's the average volume on each individual day? This gave away a lot of different things for me, but also it gave me the average volume in general per day. Okay, the average volume per hour, not even per day, but the average volume per hour. And that's what I use to craft my sessions. But again, I'll come back to the sessions in a second. This table alone will allow you to be like, look, there's a massive spike in volume at this time on the UTC, or, look at this time here. This is a clear outlier, and you can go through and digest all these different stats from just collecting stats. And this is all done through TradingView. Again, what I recommend, 1 hourly chart. Just go back, export the data, and then do a bit of conversion through Google Sheets, etc. Okay, and that's where you'd really get the actual figures from, in the sense of volume per hour, and putting it into a table. Now, before I continue, I wanted to actually mention to you all, by the way, that I do have this ExoCharts course and ExoCharts membership and Coin Market Manager that's giving away for free. Essentially, you see it's the first link in the description. You can click there and you'll see how it's literally just sign up through Woo, take one trade, and then you can sign up and get all the stuff for free. I thought I really wanted to create a deal that was the best for you all. And again, I don't really like to ever shill anything, and this is the only other thing that I would say is probably worth your time. You get a free membership of ExoCharts to try out all the stuff that I'm teaching you here and going through, alongside journaling. There's no reason to not to journal, and obviously you get 10 hours worth of ExoCharts course that I'll be consistently adding to as well. So that's not going to just be static. They'll be adding to that as well. If you hit certain volume thresholds, you'll be invited to a private group where we can go over specific statistics, such as stuff like this, moving forward. So again, I won't cover that too much, but that's that. And it'll be the first link in the description, so just go over there. But yeah, we've gone over the volume table in the sense of all of this, but let's talk about how it's actually crafted these session times and why I've chosen them. So what I basically did was I went, okay, so this is midnight. How does the volume, I'm looking for peaks and troughs. So where does the volume die out? Where does it pick up? And going from there. So from 0, so you can see 55 million, 49 is dropping off. Okay. And then I went from 6 a.m. here. It starts to pick up again. That is the start of my new session. Volume starts to pick up, an injection of volume. That is where, I could have started it back here, but I chose 6 a.m. On the dot. So 6 a.m. till, again, you can see increasing, decreasing, nothing really fluctuating, and I'm looking for the big spikes in volume to really say. So I could have started it again at 11 here, right? Because there's like a 16 million increase in average volume at this time. But again, look at the gap from 11 to 12. Again, even 24 million increase in average volume. So I chose 12 o'clock is that new session time, and you can see here. So now we've got 0 to 6 Asia, 6 to 12 New York. Although I am aware on every given day that still 11 o'clock can see a pickup in volume, okay? And again, if I'm thinking that as well, I can then go, look, you know, in particular on a Wednesday you might get a pickup in volume a little bit earlier, okay? So this is really, really powerful stats in this sense, okay? I don't see anyone do this, and that's unfortunately the way, you know, I had to go and figure this out myself. But yeah, again, it's same methodology, going up, nothing, no real big drops in it or pickups. And then it's only really here where I then see a big drop. And that's why then to actually close and go, this is close session. So from 8 o'clock till the end of the day, you know, there's a massive drop in volume on average, you know, 55, 60, 55, 64, again, depending on the day. But this is how I've crafted those sessions. So just to really highlight to you, you then got one session here. You then got another session here. Whoops. I think I drew this one too big. You got one session here up until 6. You then got from 6 till 12. And then you got from 12 all the way to 8. And then so on. And you can see why I've done that. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense to you now. So it's not really random, okay? So it wasn't just random at all. It was through stats and generated data in that sense. So again, you can all use that if you want. I've provided it to you, but it's not going to be any benefit to you, because ultimately I really only gain an edge when I've done this stuff for myself, no matter what someone would show me. Okay, but I will then tell you some of the use cases I use for my sessions. Okay, so for example, I didn't just dive into this. There are certain things I'm not showing you, obviously, like what session is likely to put in the high on any given day or the low, right? So for example, I'll tell you something for now. London session is not that likely to be putting in the high on most days, right? So for example, when you see this is Asia session, the day starts, puts in the low, and then you've got London session, which has the developing day high. This drop here makes sense to look for a long to then target new highs to be hit. Okay, although it doesn't happen all the time, there are certain days where it's higher, certain days where it's lower. I'm just talking you through certain things that you can be looking for. What sessions are making the highs, what sessions are making the lows, you know, the probabilities of them doing that as well. Okay, and then using them as target biases. I mean, even here, for example, you can see the day's trending, Asia session, London session, and then you put in this low. Everyone might be thinking, oh, it's going to rally from here, and then it drops. Again, it depends on the day. It's not just every single day that I wouldn't trade London session, because there are certain days where I do trade London session. It does have an edge. One specific setup you can be looking for, okay, is simply like a London session swing failure pattern of the high or low. So for example, if this here, this could have swing failure patterned, and then you could have seen a rally from there, for example, but obviously it didn't happen, and depends. You know, obviously, are you going into a POI, you're going into a level of interest, and so on and so forth. I mean, and on days like this, for example, like this is really, really powerful when you have, I'll talk you through this, where you have Asia session putting in a high, Asia, you know, it's got high and low. London session then makes a slightly lower high, and then, well, more importantly, it takes the low. So you've got, at this current stage, you know, you're heading into New York session, but London session's putting the low of the day. So the thought process would be, for me at least, you know, the way I'd be thinking, it depends on the day, look for, you know, if it rises anymore, this is going to offer a really good short trade if it's into a POI, to then not only just take profit, but I would actually hold this whole thing the whole way until London session lows been taken out. Obviously in this case it did, and then it starts to go sideways from there. But you can be using these as bias targets to get hit. I mean, look at this, right? For example, even if it's not on the same day, London session high, you know, it doesn't take, and again, this is something to note, that London session, you know, New York always probes outside of London session, kind of almost either direction most days, because of how small London session is. But you can see here, imagine if this was London session put in the high of the day, you see a drop in New York, and then it rallies back up to then clear up London session highs. It's a very common feat, okay? So not every day will it occur, but again, I'm really interested in looking at session swing failure patterns. Again, for me, I'm really primarily focused on trading London and New York and occasionally close. But if you're trading, you know, if you're from Asia or from other parts around the world, you might want to be trading other sessions, you know, that I haven't really gained an insight too much on Asia, because mainly I'm never awake during Asia. So that, you know, it doesn't really make sense to look too much of an edge into this at the moment. But yeah, that is how I'm using sessions, you know, sessions from failure patterns, which sessions putting in the high of the day, which sessions putting in the low of the day, using statistics to judge that, and then not just being randomly, you know, biased towards what the general consensus is saying, you know, use this kill zone, use that. time zone, going through, diving into my statistics and really coming up with an edge for myself. And hopefully this is some sort of inspiration for you all, and you can find it beneficial. I really hope you enjoyed this one.